Hey, don't crush your views. You know,
Yeah,
that's gonna put your views.
No,
like, this is opportunity. Don't miss it.
No, this is why this podcast does well. Is because we just.
No, I appreciate that. Actually,
we keep it real. You're like, get this baby, this milk.
Right before my fight.
I'm gonna get this bitch real quick. All right, Johnny, make yourself useful, motherfucker. And we got here and earn this money.
And Rhonda came in with a totally different attitude. She was kind of just like, excuse my language, just like, f them all.
Yeah.
I just didn't like her. I thought she came in with such a different energy. She did come in with a very different energy. So I was really at an all-time low in my personal life and also with fighting. So I was like, I got to retire and I got to figure some shit out. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm in a dark place right now. This is not okay. You know, before I answer that, there were two things that we talked about through this that I feel like I still wanted to elaborate a little bit on.
Oh, it's 15-time world champion Demetrious Johnson. You're listening to the MIGHTYcast.
What's going on, ladies and gentlemen? We are back again with another episode of MIGHTYcast. I have a lovely guest. Let's welcome in Miesha Tate. Welcome, Miesha. How are you doing today?
It's good. It's cool. We got to do this in person.
Yeah, I know. It's funny. We've known each other since high school.
Yeah.
High school. I wrestled at Washington High School, which is the opposite rival school of Franklin Pierce High School. She was a Cardinal. I was a Washington Patriot. And I think the very first time we've ever met was during the wrestling tournaments, or when we had our first wrestling meet, because I wrestled your teammate Sharon. How is Sharon? Do you still talk to her?
She's good. She's she's getting married. No, she just got married. And she has one son and now a son with her new husband.
Okay.
A son or a daughter, I'm not sure. But anyways, she lives in Texas.
Oh.
Yeah.
Did you see her when you fought?
I didn't see her when I fought. No, she's in Dallas. But she's doing good. She looks happy and healthy, you know. Good. We talk every once in a while, you know, a Merry Christmas.
Does she still wrestle?
Birthday. She doesn't. No. I know. I back in the day when I first started fighting, I was like, you should do it, you know, and she wasn't about it, you know. So she does something in the medical field now.
Okay.
But yeah, I always used to feel really sorry for her when she had to go up against you. You were like the one like memorable wrestler because you were just like everywhere. And I was like, I can't even like keep an eye on him, much less I can't, you know, like I felt so bad for her. Did you feel bad for her?
No, I mean, I did feel bad like when I wrestled chicks, because like when you pin them and they're struggling, they're like, and I was like, shh, it'll be over soon. Just, I'm sorry. And I remember I had to wrestle like multiple times. It was just like 1 year. I feel like I wrestled her. Like,
you did.
Like back to back.
And every time I would be like, oh, not that one.
Yeah. And then it'll be tournaments too. Because I remember when I would go to a tournament, you were one weight class above me. Like you were one.
No.
I was one.
I had to be more.
You were 125, right? Mm-mm. What were you, 135?
130 was my first season.
Okay.
And then I went up to 45.
Oh, damn. Yeah, so you're way.
I was always wrestling the big guys.
Gotcha. Yeah, because I remember I was 119 during the season.
I didn't know how to cut weight even. So, I mean, I didn't know. Not that I really,
Who knew how to cut weight?
Not that you really want to cut weight that much in high school anyway. So I'm kind of glad I didn't know. But I didn't even know the first thing about like dieting or anything. So I just like whatever I kind of like walked at was like literally what I wrestled at.
Well, I think that's a thing that even professional fighters still don't know how to cut weight correctly or diet correctly, right?
And I just figured it out since working with Coach Cal on my comeback. So I didn't know either. I cut weight the wrong way. So for majority of my career.
Well, so let's go back to the beginning. So we wrestled in high school together. After our high school, what essentially happened? Like did you go, because you ended up getting into mixed martial arts over the mountain. For ladies and gentlemen, we live in
Western Washington,
Puyallup, Tacoma area, and then over the mountain is Spokane.
Well, you
Tri-Cities.
still live here. I live in Vegas now.
Well, I know
we
that.
We knew each other. Well,
yes.
They don't know that.
Well,
we're
gonna get to the goddamn story. We got to start from the beginning, and you got to see how you get over the mountain, and you get to Vegas. So she lives in Vegas now. I still live in Washington. So how did you go from Franklin Pierce, wrestling in high school, into mixed martial arts? Like, what was your transition?
Okay, so I went to college. I went to Central Washington University, just over the hill. Yeah, just over the mountains. And I was looking for something to do kind of like wrestling. And my dorm mate, she was my neighbor, Rosalia. She was like, hey, there's this MMA club sport thing. And I was like, what? I didn't know really what MMA was, or if I did, I didn't have a recall of it. I think my dad had probably had the fights on before he says that I knew of it. I was like, clearly I wasn't watching them. I didn't know. And she was like, you should come and try it. And she's like in her karate outfit. And I'm just looking at her and I'm like, I don't do that. Like, I don't, whatever that is, like, I don't do that, you know? And she was like, fine. So she went without me. And then she came back the next day and she just kept bugging me about it. Cause she's like, man, most of these guys are former wrestlers anyways. Cause the wrestling program had been cut the year before there. So there were still some guys who hadn't transferred out of the school to go wrestle other places. And so I was like, all right, like, I can tell that you really want me to try this. So I'm going to humor you. Since you won't leave me alone about it. So I kind of went reluctantly, really thinking like, I'll just do this one time and then, I won't do it again. But on my very first day, I learned how to choke people.
You're like, man, I'm sold. I'm good.
Sold. I was like, this is okay. This is kind of like wrestling, but with choke holds and arm bars and joint locks. I'm like, that's cool. I could wrap my mind around that.
Who was the coach? Was it is 6'2" Rick Little?
Rick Little. So it wasn't Rick. Rick was in Spokane, which is about another 2 hours or so east, continuing east.
Okay.
But at this time, it was just other college students.
So there was no like head coach. There's just a whole bunch of college students getting together, just running it.
Basically.
Oh, nice.
Yeah. So that's actually where I met my ex, Brian, and Tommy. Yeah, exactly. Well, that's the one and only time we'll mention the name. Spare you guys. But and then Tommy Truex, who is unfortunately since passed away, they kind of like started the idea themselves. So they would be the ones to like show things and moves and whatnot. But other than that, it was kind of like a conjoint effort of just college students coming together and just trying to do some semblance. I think some of them wanted to wrestle, some of them wanted to do grappling. I was not interested in the striking part of it.
Yeah.
So it wasn't very it wasn't organized, very open, just kind of, what do you want to come here and learn how to do? And I think as the girls coming in, they were kind of like, all right, because they'd worked hard to start this club sport there.
Of course.
But at the same time, I don't think they did it with the intention of like females coming in.
Showing up. We're like, guys, this is a guys club. We got all these hot chicks coming in. What are we doing? Are we trying to become muscles, or are we trying to cater to the women?
Exactly. So I think, they kind of had to humor, because it was open for anybody at the school. So they think they kind of had to humor us. But that's how I got my introduction.
Wow, that's crazy. And then before you had your first mixed martial arts amateur fight, did you get underneath a coach, or did you do it out of the community of the gym you guys had going on?
So I transferred just before my first fight, about 3 weeks before, maybe 4 weeks before my first fight. I actually started to train at an MMA gym. So basically what happened was I was like, guys, I don't want to learn any of the striking. Just keep teaching me this grappling stuff. And so I was there, and it was once a week. It was on Tuesdays. And I kept showing up, and then they were like, hey, we're having an amateur fight card. Some of the guys from here are, also train up at Yakima MMA, and they're going to be fighting. And so if you want to come and watch. And I was like, all right. So Yakima was like 20, 30 minutes from our school. So I was like, so I carpooled up there, and, poor college kids, of course, we carpooled.
You gotta start somewhere, though.
Yeah, you gotta start somewhere. I had a little Kia Rio at the time, so it was like a little, gas, great on gas.
Yeah.
So we all just kind of like carpooled in the car, and I went to the fights, and I was just so taken back by what I saw, like in a great way. Like I had this like visceral reaction. I was just like, my spirit just was like a part of it already. Like, I don't know how to explain that kind of thing, but I was drawn to it like a moth to a flame. And at the end of the fights, the guy who had been refereeing, in the Pacific Northwest, everybody's kind of linked somehow. So it's like 1 week was his show and they'd ref, or vice versa, So he was there refereeing, and in 3 weeks he was going to have his own show, and he got on the microphone as everybody was leaving. And I just remember kind of sitting there still taking it all in, feeling like, man, what warriors, like this is not at all what I thought fighting was.
Yeah.
Because I the preconceived notion is back then, especially.
Yes. Because the only thing that was on TV at that time was basically, not the infancy stage of the UFC.
I don't even think I'd even seen it on TV at that point. Like I said, I hadn't really watched it. Like I just thought fighting of fighting, like how a normal person, like a street fight, you got to be angry. Like they just lock them in a dog kennel and they fight each other. Like that doesn't sound great,
It's like, get in, you little bastards.
Yeah. Like, that sounds terrible. Like not at all like something I'd want to do. But I went and I showed up, and they were in a boxing ring at that time. So there wasn't even like a cage really. But they fought, and the submissions and it was just like, wow, this is a sport.
Yeah.
This isn't just the barbaric, violent, drunk people fighting. Like this is actually a sport.
Yeah.
And so that's what appealed to me. And so anyways, he got on the microphone and he was like, in 3 weeks, I'm going to have an all-female fight cards if there's anybody.
Damn. That's the first time I've ever heard of an amateur. I mean, you got to think this was 18 years ago, right? 18 years ago, an amateur all-female fight card. That's absolutely insane because now, even in the professional level, you don't even see it, right? Every once in a blue moon, you see one championship. I think they're the only organization out there that's ever done an all-female fight card.
No, Invicta.
Oh, Invicta? Oh.
Of course, Invicta.
Oh, look at me. Isn't that all women anyways?
Yeah, only women.
Jesus
But they do have ring card boys sometimes.
Yeah.
Theodore,
Rip. Yeah.
Yeah,
so,
may he rest in peace.
Yeah. But it's crazy to see amateur card do that because typically when you see it here in the Pacific Northwest, it's usually a mix, more predominantly men in the beginning and 18 years ago, right? Because
100%
in the past, but now 18 years ago, there was all women. So then you decided like, hey, I'm going to go do that.
Yeah, on a whim. I just literally walked my happy ass right down the steps and just was like, I think I want to fight. Yeah. So they asked me, well, what'd you do? And I said, well, I wrestled in high school. Yeah. And I've been doing this MMA club sport for a few weeks or whatever. So yeah, they put me against the striker.
Yep. And you just wrestled the hell out of her.
Yeah, I just wrestled. Remember, it was the easiest takedown in the first round of my life because I had been wrestling guys. And he's like, I would be very, very lucky to get a takedown on a good high. Like these guys were legit. They had experience. They had physicality. They had all the things against me. So it was like I was not used to getting takedowns. Let me tell you that much. I was used to surviving. I was really good at not getting pinned. I mean, like an expert at not getting pinned.
Yeah.
But let's be honest, so especially at my weight classes because I didn't wrestle the less mature guys. If you could be a 105-pound female, sometimes you could do a little better, I think, because some of those guys hadn't really matured
puberty or got some little boy strength, as you can call it.
Yeah.
Then you can be able to hang with them.
But I was wrestling men.
Yeah, because you're wrestling guys at 145 pounds.
Yep.
Right? I mean, that's essentially what I weigh right now, and I'm 37. So, ladies and gentlemen, last week, Miesha Tate, was it last week you just fought?
Yeah, last week. Yeah.
God, time flies so fast. Last week, Miesha Tate fought, and ladies and gentlemen, we've been doing our thing on PrizePicks. Now, ladies and gentlemen, all you gotta do is go to PrizePicks and download it on your app phone. And they had Miesha Tate going against, what was the lady you were fighting? What was her name? Julia Vila. They had the projections of her landing about 45.5 strikes. No, I was like, nah, she's not
gonna
do.
I thought you said 70.
No, it wasn't 70. That was last night. It was like 45.5. Some. But landing 45.5 significant strikes. Knew what was going to happen. I knew Miesha was going to out-grapple her, and she did, and we won good money. Miesha, I'll PayPal you the $200 we won. But ladies and gentlemen, make sure you get the right pick.
I need my cut. You're going to get your cut. 20%?
You're going to get your cut, all right? 20%. Make sure you make the right pick at PrizePicks, and make sure you use my code MIGHTY when you do that. We'll match $100 to your deposit. Now, I won't match it, but they will. Okay, if you're 145 in high school
as a female,
as a female, you're probably gonna wrestle a guy who's like 150, because they're kind of weight as well.
Yeah, and they usually have more experience because they're growing into those weight classes as well.
Yes.
So even the 105ers are usually the least experienced because I think it's rare to see a senior at 105 pounds.
I would say so, yeah.
It's usually like the freshmen coming in and maybe sophomores, but then usually they bump up to 112, 118 as they grow. So they're also the least experienced. Point in case is my senior year, actually, we didn't have a 152 pounder. We only had two 145 pounders, and
one would have to go up.
Yeah. And sometimes it was me. I was the sacrificial lamb.
What the fuck?
Because honestly,
was it a guy was it you and another dude, or was it two chicks? Like you and another girl?
No, it was a guy.
Shame on that man. I would have said, Miesha, it's okay. You stay down here. I'll go up. And I would have chose who's a tougher match, right? Like not send you to the lamb like, oh, no, Miesha, you're going 152. Even though you're 145, I want to stay down and grapple or wrestle the smaller guy. Shame on him. Right.
So the way that, to my understanding, the coaches decided who was going to wrestle up a weight class. And this was varsity, I'll tell you too, because we just didn't have enough at that weight class for whatever reason. The way that they would decide who was going to go up was the best odds for him to win the rest of the match, because I was pretty much going to lose either way.
Oh, shit. Look at you now.
So, look at me now. You guys just made me tougher. Try me now.
Oh, my goodness. So you did the amateur fight. Let's fast forward. Your first pro fight, because I remember your very first pro fight What was that like? And then what was, after that first pro fight, your first big organization was StrikeForce, correct?
Yeah.
So tell me about the first pro fight and then the StrikeForce debut in that whole scenario.
So I had 6 amateur fights, and then my first pro fight was for hook and shoot.
Okay.
Bowdog. Yeah, I think
Bowdog.
I think it was still just hook and shoot then, and then they like combined with Bowdog, and I'm not sure how the company went. But anyways, I went out there and I actually fought 2 fights in one night.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it would have been 3 had I won the second one.
Yeah. Oh, shit.
So let me cut to the chase.
So there's 3. So how many fights would you have done if you would have won all of them?
3 fights.
3 fights total?
Yeah.
Okay. Continue. I'm sorry to cut you off.
No, it's okay. And it was interesting because the idea, for whatever reason, was to take the best 125-pound females and the best 135-pound females, and they ran two tournaments the same night next to each other. So the 25ers would fight the 25ers for the first 2 fights, and the 35ers would fight the 35ers for the first 2 fights, and then in the end, the 25er would have to fight the 35er. I know, make it make sense. It didn't make sense. I was a 35er, so I guess I didn't really care, but I thought it was, I was like, well, that's not cool, because why did they have to make 125 then?
Yeah, exactly.
Why can't you just say you've been a 25er and you still get to weigh in at 135? We're just going to call you a 125er, you know? Yeah. But anyways, whatever. I ended up fighting Jan Finney, who was a hometown girl, and it was in Evansville, Indiana. And she was, at the time, touted as the hardest hitting woman of MMA. She had the most experience, So I went out there and I took her down, but I mean, I was my striking was atrocious. I mean, both my shoulders were glued to my ears, and I was just like, I didn't know how to move at all. So flat footed, terrible. But I ended up taking her down, mostly like catching kicks and things like that. And I thought I had won after the end of the 3 rounds, just based on like a lot of riding time and a little ground and pound. I was still pretty new to it. So, but at the end of the 3rd round, they were taking forever, and like her and I were already kind of like shooting the shit. Her and I were like, oh man, great job with this, or your takedowns, and I was like, your leg kicks, like my leg, we were already just
so
like
shooting the shit between the rounds. Like it's the end of the fight.
It's the end of the fight. The fight's over.
And so they're tallying up the scorecard essentially.
Yeah, they're tallying scorecards, and we're kind of both just like complimenting each other on the things that we did well and like good job, and we're just kind of wondering what's taking so long. And the ref comes back and says they can't agree on the scorecard. What the fuck? They can't agree. So we're gonna have you go another round.
Oh. So sudden death.
Yeah, sudden death. Exactly. And we're like, oh man, I was like, I should have told her about the leg kicks.
Yeah. So you came out and whack, whack, whack.
Yeah, exactly. No, I took her down again in that round, and kind of the same thing started to happen at the 4th. We're like, what's taking so long? I was like, this time I'm not going to give away. And they asked, like, they still can't agree. Would you all want to go one more round? And we're like, at this point, we're like, no, because one of us still has to fight again.
Yeah.
And so the ref says, in that case, they said that I have the best seat in the house, so I'll choose the person.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I don't know. I mean, this is back in the day. I don't know how that even happened. I don't know if they had 4 judges maybe instead of 3, because I just don't know.
I'm like, how? Well, it's funny because you just tally it up. So I'm assuming if they had 4, it came a draw each round, right? And they're like, oh, we can't decide. But the fact that they couldn't decide, and there was like, oh, now, how was the purse for this? Because it's a professional.
I think I made $500.
Yeah. Oh my god! But I mean, like, so the whole tournament was $500, but
it might have been $500, or maybe it was 500 and 500 for the. I can't recall now. It's so long ago, but I know 500 was like a number, so it could have been 500 total, or it could have been 1,000.
So it's almost
still was like nothing.
You think about it now, a professional contract, ladies and gentlemen. You get organization, UFC, one championship, PFL. It's like, hey, Miesha Tate, you're gonna fight X, Y, and Z. It's gonna be a 3-round fight for a certain amount of money. There is no 4th, 5th round. There is no.
It was a learning time for everybody.
I know.
We were figuring it all out. Unfortunately, the athletes, a lot of times, the ones to pay the price. We
were the guinea pigs. We were like, so how do we make this work?
Yeah.
What's going on, guys? This podcast is sponsored by GFuel. Now, ladies and gentlemen, we all know we love to have that extra energy when we hit the gym or when you are gaming. So do yourself a favor, go to gfuel.com. And when you check out, make sure you use my promo code MIGHTY. and that will save you 20%. Now, GFuel has all these amazing flavors. Mine is the Mega Man. I love the blueberry slushy. It's absolutely delicious. And the cool thing about GFuel, it's not just all the caffeine, it's also the multivitamins in it, that which gives you the opportunity to not have a crash after you come off of the energy that you get from the amazing product. Now, ladies and gentlemen, go to gfuel.com, and when you check out, use my promo code MIGHTY to save 20%. And make it even easier for you guys, check the description. We made a link for you guys. Go there, click the link, promo code MIGHTY, get yourself some G Fuel and get fueled. But essentially, it's like you had 3 fights in one night. So it was, you show up 500, and if you win the whole entire thing, you get $500. So you have multiple fights under that, instead of like, hey, when you first win 500, you fight again, 500, you win the whole thing, $1,000, whatever. So it's like, they're getting more rounds, and he was like, I just want to see them, you know, fight more. Draw. So you did the Bulldog. You end up not winning the tournament.
Right.
Then StrikeForce. That was your very first big promotion, professional fight, correct?
Yeah.
StrikeForce. And it was, I remember when you got into StrikeForce, it was you and Gina Carano were like the head honchos.
Right.
And then for some reason, you guys never fought. Like, were you guys never in the same weight? You guys were in the same weight class, right?
We weren't. She was the 45er.
And you were 35er.
Right. And after she fought Cyborg, she never fought again after that, right? I mean, I think I would have been down to fight, but it just kind of, I wasn't quite at her level of notoriety yet. I think I had only had 1 fight in the organization, and I was brought in to lose. I was fighting Elena Maxwell actually at 145. So yeah, I did bump up for that fight. And Elena Maxwell and Gina had fought each other before, and that was the only weight class that there was at that time in StrikeForce. And then I beat Elena Maxwell, and I watched Cyborg and Gina fight, which wasn't that, you know, a few months after or something like that. And then it never, she retired. She never fought again.
She went out to make movies and becoming
that would have been
Deadpool.
cool though. I mean, that would be cool to be able to say, you know, that I had a fight against her. But
well, I always find it funny because after just listening to a little bit of your story, it seems you're going to 1v2, you're going to fucking lose anyway, so we're just going to put you there. Then, you know, Bulldog, you weren't brought in to lose, but...
No, but I definitely fought the toughest.
So kind of brought in to lose. Yeah. And then StrikeForce, you've been brought in to lose.
Jan was supposed to win the whole tournament, you know. She was the local girl and the most experienced, and, you know, yeah. So anyways, yes. I mean, I think I always kind of realized that there was that challenge there, that nobody had bought into me yet. You know what I mean? Like I had something to prove.
When do you think people started to buy into you? Like when do you think Cupcake Tate started to take off? I
think when I got signed to StrikeForce, and then I was able to fight at 135. So after I fought Elena, they only brought me in for that 1 fight. And again, she was the 2-time K1 kickboxing world champion. She was Kung Lee's protege. He was headlining that event that we were fighting on. She was from San Jose. It's where the organization was based out of. I mean, come on, you know, obviously
they're setting her up to succeed.
Yes, and I'm a grappler, so they think that she's going to knock me out. But I won that fight, and then they offered me a multi-fight contract. And so I think it was after probably I fought Zoila Frosto was my first fight of my contract. But I think somewhere in that place was where women's MMA started to really
take off,
transform, because it was right after Gina had fought Cyborg, and then I had beaten kind of their other golden girl, and Gina retired. And then Elena, you know, she wasn't far after that. I think she retired, and so it was kind of like, I think they kind of like looked at me finally.
Yes. The next lady to take the torch to where they want it to go.
Yeah.
Right?
But then I ended up fighting Zoila Frosto in her hometown.
Yeah.
So man, maybe it took a little while. I think they really liked their strikers at that point. Yeah. So I fought her. But I was somewhere in California. I forget the name of the place now. But it was in her backyard, and then I beat her. And I think at that point they kind of couldn't deny me anymore. So then I started to get some, you know, I started to move up. I did have a loss to Sarah Kaufman, I think, after that. But then I went on a good win streak, and I went all the way to the title fighting Marloes Kunin.
Nice. And now I feel like it's so hard because like when I'm like I remember like when I think your start even took off more is when you had that rivalry, right? Like even for me, you look at Anderson Silva, you look at John Jones, you look at all of the greats in a division, they needed a partner, right? Me was, Joseph Benavidez, John Dodson, Henry Cejudo, John Jones, Daniel Cormier, Anderson Silva, Chael Sonnen, and I felt like a little, then Ronda Rousey was like your thing. And I think what was so brought you up was like you guys went head and head. And sometimes I sit there and I think, I'm like, how the did you lose to her? Obviously, she had the arm bar and the judo, right? But I feel if you guys were to fight now, obviously, I believe you would win because you've still been active. You've gone through the thick and thin. When she gets knocked out, she broke her jaw, but her jaw got displaced, and she was talking about I couldn't eat an apple. It's like that's daily routine for me when I'm sparring ready for fights. But I felt like it was until you had your fights with Ronda Rousey, that's when your start took off, and then you obviously becoming the world champion, defeating Holly Holm with the. I remember you just comment on everybody. I was like, everybody's acting like I was getting my ass kicked by Holly Holm. I didn't even get touched. And then you locked up that rear naked choke and choked her out, became the champion. Yeah. And then I'm going to go back. Let's talk about the Ronda and that. I think what made you become more of a star was, I think it was after the second fight, after, the fight was over, you went and shook her hand and she just turned her back on you. Yeah. Right? I think that's what elevated you as a person. It's like, hey, yes, you're better than me. Hey, good job. Right? Yep. Talk me through that little, because you guys fought 3 times?
2 times.
2 times.
Yeah, the third one has yet to be written, so.
I
can only hope,
I'm not going to run on some wild goose chase. Everybody's like, oh, Dana White's, there's a UFC 300, a super fight. I was like, guys, Ronda Rousey's not coming back. I'll be the first one to tell you guys that. She's off wrestling.
She's done wrestling now, right?
No, she's been wrestling for a different organization. Oh, okay. Because my boys are really big into wrestling. Okay. And so every Monday night, Friday night, and Tuesday night NXT, WWE, and Friday night SmackDown. So she was doing another wrestling thing with a different organization. I'm not sure what it is, but it wasn't WWE. It could be one of WWE's like umbrella corporations, but she's not coming back to fight. So ladies and gentlemen, don't worry about that. Miesha's not fighting Ronda Rousey, but
hey, don't crush your views. That's gonna put your views. This is opportunity. Don't miss it.
No, this is why this podcast does well. Is because we just.
I appreciate that. Actually, you have no idea how many people have texted me the picture of Ronda Rousey and I at 300. Like there's this image, someone's created, and I was like, it's not real, guys. It's not real.
Yeah, it's like.
But it gets everybody's attention.
It's exactly.
Like, hey,
you just got
something shiny.
You just got them fighting. She's been wrestling. It's been 2 separate, 2 separate careers, right? So tell me about that trilogy. Tell me about that rivalry, because that's where I think your star started to shine. And then when you won the belt against Holly Holm, but that was a big part of your career, right? Like you and Ronda.
Undeniable.
How was that?
So when I put myself back in my shoes, when, I was in StrikeForce and right before we came over, I just didn't like her. I thought she came in with such a different energy. She did come in with a very different energy. So I think most of the women in MMA up at that point, even though we were fighting each other, we were also fighting for something bigger. Yeah. Right? We were fighting
for yourself.
Exactly. For acceptance. It was always kind of like this understanding, that we had a camaraderie, even though we were opponents. It was like, hey, let's work together. Let's put on a good show tomorrow. Yeah. Let's do this. Like we were on the same team, if you will. And Ronda came in with a totally different attitude. She was kind of just like, excuse my language, just like, f them all. Yeah. I'm not here to make friends. Like, I will do my own thing, and I don't care how anybody else does. I only care how I do. Yeah. And look, I respect it now. I get it. And it's really is what the sport needed. We needed someone to come in and shake it up and make it interesting. Yeah. So, I won't deny her that. But at the time, I couldn't see that. I didn't have the perspective. It was just rude, and it seemed very rude and unethical. And I'm like, who is this woman? Yeah. We would find out the answer, obviously, in some years to come. But my fight with Ronda was the fight that kind of changed Dana White's mind as far as women being able to.
That was in the StrikeForce.
Yeah.
First fight in the StrikeForce.
Because, at that time, women still were not fighting in the UFC.
Yeah.
So, because he thought there wasn't enough talent out there, there wasn't enough competitiveness. He had watched women's MMA one time before, and it was severely mismatched. And he was like, "This is terrible. We can never put this product on our, on a platform." Exactly. And I think when he saw us fight, he saw all the things that could make money.
Yeah.
make dollars. He was like, hey, maybe there's something to this. And for me, I lost that fight, but it was also a chance to show the heart and the grit that I have and the never quit and never give up attitude.
Yep.
And so I lost, but I learned a ton, and I went straight back to drawing board. I fought just 6 months after that injury, which I think is a pretty quick come around.
What was the injury from that fight? Did she end up dislocating your elbow?
Yeah, so she did, but it went back in the socket as soon as it was bent back.
Oh, really?
Yeah, so it went back, so they didn't have to set it.
Okay.
But
what about ligament damage?
Yeah, so I had grade 2 and 3 tears of the bicep and tricep. The ulnar nerve was not disturbed, which was very important. And the tendons on either side avulged from the bone. So that means they pulled a chunk of bone with them.
Damn.
And then the bone grew back in.
Oh, God.
Isn't that wild? But I mean, that was a blessing, because I know that sounds really intense, but that's way better than ripping the tendons off the bone. Because when you rip them off the bone,
then you have to go in and reattach them, right?
Yeah. So I didn't have to have surgery from that. Can you believe that? I just rehab.
Well, see, that's the biggest thing I always tell people. If you're gonna break something, break a bone, right?
Break
a bone, because the bone's like
literally
6 weeks.
break a leg. They tell you wish you luck. Break a leg. Yeah. So it's like, well, if something bad has to happen, that'd be the one I want.
Break bones. Don't tear ligaments, because the ligaments, there's no blood flow to it, so it takes a lot longer to heal. And usually when you reattach them, they're just not the same.
Ligaments and tendons.
Because you go your whole life, your ligaments, your tendons, they grow with you, and they get a certain, I guess you can elasticity, right? Where it doesn't bend anymore. It stays a certain, bend. And then once you tear it, it's got to go back together, and it's got to build that elasticity again. And sometimes it doesn't go back to usual, because when I broke my hand, he goes, oh, we're just going to set you tore the tendons. We'll set your thumb back in there, and you're going to have to work the, tendons back to the way it was before. And it just never was the same, because, it was that way for 25 years.
Yeah.
Tears, you got to do it all over again.
Should try having a baby.
What's that?
It's not the same.
Oh, yeah, no, it's not. It's never the same.
My core and stuff like that, it's just different than it was before. And I've just had to learn to adapt. I think that's what you do. You learn to adapt around those things. But even you say about those injuries or whatever, I feel like having a child is like putting your body in through like a car crash.
Oh, see, this is, I never forget, we were talking, and I was like, man, are you ever going to have kids? You're like, no. And I was like, never gonna have kids. It destroys my body. And I remember I said, it's like, I'm telling you right now, it is the greatest thing you can ever do in life.
It is.
Look,
I'll gladly eat that.
Yeah, you have 2 now.
I have 2.
2 now.
Yeah.
Beautiful.
Boy and a girl.
Boy. Yeah.
A girl and a boy.
Girl and a boy. Yeah, and that's why I think it's the hardest thing for women in mixed martial arts, right? Because at the time, you had your Ronda fights, then you went off and you fought Holly Holm after that, right? No,
yep.
You beat Holly Holm, become world champion. And then what was it like when you became world champion? Your whole entire career been brought in to get slaughtered, right? Essentially, and I'm not saying every single fight you were.
Not every fight, but a lot. I was no stranger to it.
It's very common, right? You finally proved yourself. You proved the world that you're a world champion. Tell me about that.
Man, the fight with Holly, I remember looking at myself in the mirror, and I'd been manifesting that moment for so long. But before I walked out, I happened to pass by a mirror, and I stopped and I looked at myself, and I said, this is the last time that you will look at yourself and not have a belt around your waist. This is the last time, when you come back here and you pass by this mirror again, you will be a world champion.
I love that.
Yeah, and I just felt that in every fiber of my being that I had to go out there and, get it done. I had to find a way.
Yeah. And so you won the belt, and then what was the transition like your whole entire life? Like I said, been brought in to be slaughtered for the lamb. You become world champion. After that, what changed? Did anything change for you? Like, what happened?
After that, it's like the best high in life. But to be honest, I was at a point still in my life where I very much tied my identity to the outcome.
I love that, because go on, keep on.
No, you're good. But let me tell you, I've been actually waiting to tell you this. I listened to the podcast that you did with Joe Rogan, and I know you did 2 of them, but one of them you talked about this. You talked about that you didn't put the weight of the world on your shoulders on an outcome, like that the life still was the same the next day, whether you woke up with the win or you woke up, and you had experienced a loss. Like, you still were who you were, and the most important things in your life were still there.
Yep.
And I was like, that was a mind-blowing moment for me.
Yeah.
And I remember thinking like, that is so impressive. And it wasn't something that I had really digested, but I was kind of on my way to that. I believe it was your second podcast. So for me, I remember having the experience of retiring at that point. And I retired because it just hit so hard to lose, but I was exhausted.
Yeah.
I was just burning the candle at both ends and the middle. And so, I beat Holly, and then I lost to Amanda, and then I had to get right back on the horse, because at that time, the only way to fix a loss was to get a win.
Get a win, yeah.
To get a win.
Get a win call, come on.
Yeah, and that was the only way that I could feel better. Otherwise, I was just walking around in this cloud of depression and just feeling like a loser. Like when I lost, I was a loser. And so then...
in high school.
Right?
I lost. I am a loser.
I'm a loser. Yeah, I literally kept that with me for so long.
Yeah.
And then I fought Raquel Pennington, and I just didn't even feel like I showed up for that fight. I was on autopilot. I was anywhere but the fight, and I knew that I couldn't fight like that anymore, and it wasn't the answer. And I had to figure it out, because I was really at an all-time low in my personal life and also with fighting. So I was like, I got to retire, and I gotta figure some shit out. Like,
Absolutely.
I'm in a dark place right now. This is not okay. And I didn't want to continue on that trajectory, because I knew that was not going to be a good outcome. So I retired. I took the 5 years off.
You took 5 years off?
5 years.
Oh my God. So you're 37 now.
Yeah.
So 5 years ago, that put you at 32. So you retired at 32. Pretty much the prime. What's the prime?
Not 5 years ago from now. I retired just before 30.
So what's the prime age of a woman in competition, you would say?
That's a great question. I mean, I would imagine still like around that, between 32 and 36, to be honest.
And at this time, you've already had your children. You had both or just one?
No, I had both by the time I came back.
No, but when you retired.
I didn't have any kids.
Oh, you didn't have any kids? Okay, so that's good. So you kind of retired and you wouldn't have some babies. And then you came back. So, okay, continue. I apologize.
So life started to become so much more meaningful for me. I started to have reason to live and be happy outside of fighting. And that was really the reason I retired, was so that I could take away the thing that was the dictating my happiness. Like, I had to remove that and really kind of strip myself down and just say, like, who am I?
Yeah.
Okay, so what if I don't have the sport? Like, who the hell am I? Because this is like treating me pretty hard right now, and I've got to figure it out. So I did, and I met my fiance Johnny, who was just an amazing man. Had the 2 kids, and I really just started to understand the other things that are valuable in life.
Yeah, I think it's funny you mentioned that, because when you were starting to say that, a gentleman at the gym told me that. He was like, dude, no matter how many times you defend your belt, you come in this gym and you put your training gear on like nothing ever happened 2 months ago when I fought. And I was like, yeah, because I mean, I do mixed martial arts because I love it. It's my passion. Like, if I win a belt and I let it dictate my life after I win the belt, then my identity is attached to me fighting, right? And I don't forget when I tell my wife all the time, like, I don't always want to be identified as Demetrious Mighty Mouse Johnson, because I'm not going to be that person, 2 to 3 years. Like, I can't fight like I used to when I was 26, 28, 29, even 31. So I've always told myself I don't want to like fall in love with the bright lights, because, I mean, don't get me wrong, it is pretty dope. You fly into Vegas, you've experienced it. You're driving down the freeway, you see Tate versus Holly Holm. You're like, oh, I'm gonna get this bitch this weekend. I'm gonna choke this bitch out. I'm getting gold. I see myself, Ray Borg, whatever it may be. You almost kind of fall in love with the lights. But I told myself, like, never fall in love with the lights, because one day the lights are gonna get turned off. And then you're gonna be looking for your identity. You're gonna fall in love, like, who am I as a person? So I think it's impressive that you took a step back, because a lot of athletes, male or female, they don't do that. They don't like,
I agree.
I take a step back, and I think it's good for their mental health as well, because if mixed martial arts, or if you're an actor, broadcaster, whatever it is, if you rely on, obviously the finances is a totally different thing, but if you rely on that identity to serve you, when that identity leaves you, it's like, who am I?
That's
right? And I was going to say, for women, I think it's also harder, because if you do want to have children, you pretty much lose a year of your life growing a baby, giving birth. I would say probably after you gave birth, how long did it take you to get back to tip-top shape to be able to compete again?
So it was every bit of 6 months before I started to feel like an athlete.
Yeah, so you had 9 months to grow the baby.
Yeah.
Then you get birth, so 6 months. So about what, 15 15 months,
Yeah.
16 months,
Yeah.
we'd say.
Yeah,
So you guys
but that's when I start to feel like an athlete. Then you've got to like
get yourself ready for a fight.
you still got to
8
get ready
weeks.
for a fight.
So,
yeah,
So essentially 2 years to get yourself ready.
basically.
For
I
you,
think
it felt like
that's
2 years.
yeah, like maybe just under 2 years, so 9 months, and then 9 months for the baby, and then about a year after from that month.
Yeah.
9
So
months.
so 2 years of your
18.
life is already gone.
Yeah.
Right. Because
Yeah.
if you're in your prime, you're trying to do it. You want to grow the baby correctly. You want to have a healthy pregnancy. You give birth, you're nursing, which, you had all the girls here in the motherfucking house going wild. You're like, get this baby this milk.
Right before my fight.
I'm going to get this bitch real quick. All right, Johnny, make yourself useful, motherfucker. And we got here and earn this money. No, it was Destiny loved it. Kaylin, all the girls in the house loved it. I remember watching it. She goes, I think for you, doing that showed that a woman is powerful, right? You grew this baby, you delivered it, you're taking care of the baby. As you're taking care of the baby, before you're about to go out and provide a different way, not just, typically in a marriage.
Can I apologize you real quick right there? Thank you so much for saying that I delivered the baby, because I always get annoyed when people are like, like, who delivered the baby? I'm like, me, motherfucker. I delivered the baby. What do you mean, who caught the baby? Well, that's different, because I delivered the baby. Like,
well, I want to say, what us men have to do to put the seed in there, it's a lot of work. Okay, it is a lot of work.
You might have broke a sweat there.
Yeah, it's here and there, but no, it's true. It's very powerful because, women are very powerful, not just by, the emotions you guys bring to a relationship for a child, but for you to go out there and also provide for your child in a different manner by physical fighting. It's a powerful thing. So I think a lot of women resonated with you. Mm-hmm. My wife did, and her best friend did when they saw you, because they've all gone through that. Right. That's the only way a woman could. I can't nurse my children. I mean, I could put my nipple in their mouth. Only thing's gonna come out is hair.
Have you ever tried that? Because they got a suction like that's crazy.
I don't know if I have before. I mean, I've tried breast milk, and it's delicious, but I don't think I've ever put my children's mouth to my nipple.
You probably wouldn't know. They're powerful.
I bet.
Woo. I remember the first time, and I was like, whoa.
Yeah.
That was an experience.
I've seen the bruises on my Destiny's nipples. But that was amazing. I think you resonated. It was a very powerful moment for me to watch, my wife to watch. And I think for you as a person to be able to nurture your baby and then go out there and provide for your child in a different way, where usually it's the man who's providing that way of fighting, right? Like, I can't nurse my children. My wife can do that. That's something I cannot do.
Right.
Only females can do that. There's only two sexes, ladies and gentlemen, male and female. Okay, got that out of the way.
I was gonna say we're gonna open a whole can of worms.
No, that's okay.
Wait for the comment section when we get to this part of the podcast.
I can't wait. So it was absolutely amazing to see you do that. So then you retired. Now, Cupcake is back. You're back, Cupcake. What made you decide to come back? Like, I tell myself, once I'm done, once I say that big R word, I'm never coming back. Because,
well, you know what, Demetrious, is because you have balance in your life right now. You have perspective and balance, and you really have a great outlook. And that's what I was saying when I was listening to that podcast with you. You have no idea how much that changed my life and really took me to a different outlook mentally, and it started to, like, you really inspired me with that. And I've taken that, and I've said in many interviews that I'm no longer outcome based, I'm effort based. Yeah. And that really started with you.
When you say effort based, how much effort you're willing to put into the training camp and put
just how hard I try. I'm just trying my best. That's it.
I love that. Yeah.
I'm just trying my best. And if I don't get a win, I still wake up tomorrow. My kids, my fiance, my mom, my dad, my fiance, like, my life is good. Yeah. Like, it's great. So, I mean, it takes all the pressure off. And I really feel like I put all that together in this last fight, particularly. And I think we're probably jumping around a little bit through the prognosis of, like, my whole career.
No, that's okay.
But honestly, that's been such a big difference for me, and it took me a while to really fully get there. I mean, I heard you say that, and I was like, I don't know if I have ever heard anybody say, like, they'd be all right if they lost. Like, I've never heard anybody, like, everybody's like, everybody's freaking out. Like, nobody wants to lose. Like, I mean, I'm not saying you wanted to lose.
Yeah, absolutely.
But, like, they just fear it like it's death itself.
Yeah.
And so I think after I retired and I found more of who I was, and I think it's a never ending journey to really discover who you are.
Yep.
But I've found out some pretty great things, and I retired. And you said what brought you back? Because when you retire, you'll be done. I wasn't done. I retired because
Go find yourself.
Yeah, to go find myself because I was lost, not because I was done.
Do you think if you would have this this vision of how you see life now when you were a champion, do you think your run after would have been totally different?
1,000%, because it's going to be different now. And, I do think that physically, I mean, it's undeniable. Like I'm past my prime. I'm 37. Yeah. I think I'm physically past my prime. However, I don't think I'm past my best.
Yeah.
I mean, there's balance in everything that we do. So maybe at my physical peak, maybe I would have been a little bit better than I am right now.
Yeah.
But I wouldn't know what I know right now.
Yeah.
And I would have been too focused on the physical, which was the whole problem. So now I have the mentality and the perspective to balance out anything that might be like diminishing physically. And I'm still great physically.
Yeah.
I don't need to be the biggest woman in the division. I don't need to necessarily be the strongest or necessarily the fastest, because I can be the best.
Yeah.
And when you're really good at your craft.
Yeah. That's all you need to be.
Yeah, I mean, you don't always have to be, there's one thing I love about our sport is I think it's so different than like football or basketball or soccer, or a lot of these things that really require certain physical skill sets to not diminish.
Yeah.
Where we have an intelligence that goes into this game.
Absolutely.
Where you can trick people into doing something that I think that's more prominent. I'm not saying that doesn't exist in other sports. I'm sure there are, you juke people out, or
But it's a split second.
Right.
And that sport's like, I'm gone. Boom.
Right.
I get you next
next play. Yeah.
Next play.
There's no next play. Like for us, it's just like, we're going in there and it's like when you get that one choke because you baited someone into it, or they think you're going for a takedown and you land the overhand right, and vice versa. You're mixing it up. Like there's in high level intelligent fight IQ that goes into this. And I feel like that has gone through the roof for me.
Yep.
And so with all that being said, and with the coach that I have for this last camp, Kirk White, he's phenomenal.
He's in Vegas, right?
No, he's in Boise.
Oh, really? So
but he's from here originally.
So you're doing your training camps in Boise now?
No, he comes down like a little bit periodically. He's not even there for the majority of my camp, but he works in such great conceptuals that I honestly don't need more than like 2 or 3 days.
Okay.
And then I can take that and I can flourish, and I'll send him videos and he'll send me back and we talk. And
now are you still training at Extreme Couture?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Nice.
I'm still training Extreme Couture.
Okay.
But he's been a game changer for me. You know what he told me? One quote I'll never forget. It was one of the first conversations I had with him in a practice. And I can tell you what, there's a lot of coaches out there that I'll work with and I'll be like, this is nonsense. Like, this is nonsense. This is a waste of my damn time. Like, go coach somebody else who doesn't know what good fighting looks like, but good technique looks like, because I'm not here for it.
Yeah.
I don't, I might not have a lot of time, but I'm here for good time. So when I was working with him, I mean, he blew my mind right off. I was like, he gets it. Yeah. He's a coach. He has just a coach mindset where he can coach any sport. He's one of those people, because athletics and concepts are transferable across sports.
1,000%.
Right? Weight distribution, distance, timing, feel, movement, wrestling. He gets it in a whole concept that's made everything that I do so much better.
Yep.
And so he told me, Miesha, whatever you have, you don't need. And that was, that turned my game into a whole different, like a whole different process for me. So I think I have consistently underperformed in my fights because of the way that I train. I have so much better results when I'm training against even like high level people than I did in my fights. And I think it's because, for myself and probably some other athletes, when you're in a fight, you don't like me, I'll say, I didn't let go of anything. Yeah. Like if I had a single leg,
you're not going to let go of it.
That's like, it's a single leg or die, like single leg or bust. I've got it. I cannot let go. Yeah. Oh, she's standing up. I've got to do everything I can to stop her from standing up.
You put all your eggs in that basket.
All my eggs in that basket, because in the fight situation, you don't want to give an inch, like nothing. In the gym, you get a little more comfortable and you're like, well, I'm going to try this. I'm going to move to this. I'm going to do that, because you know that they're not going to just necessarily take your head off. Like you
get a chance to rectify it. It's like, it's okay. The judge there's no judges. It's fine. You get to actually play a little bit more.
Exactly. And so I took this mindset and I started applying it more and more to the gym. And then I was able to apply it in this last fight. And, you know, I don't know if you saw in the third round, but she did get back to her feet for like 2 seconds. Yep. But in old Miesha would have felt her getting up to her feet.
You probably been broken mentally.
No, I wouldn't have broken. It's that I would have felt her getting to her feet and I would have been desperate to keep it down. And I probably would have pulled her on top of me or something or made a mistake.
You gotcha.
I would have been trying so hard to just don't let her up that I would have forced something that wasn't there. And in this, I was like, all right, she's probably going to get up here. Yeah. So let's help her get up. Make her real light on her feet and sweep that leg right back out. Let's use her own momentum because we're going up. That's all right. Yeah, I'm okay here. Yep. Like whatever I had down here, I don't need it. I can get her back because I can put her right back down. And like that whole concept of I don't have to fight so hard to keep exactly what I have because I've got a lot of things. And if I stay a step ahead, we already decided, okay, we're going up. I actually helped her get up. Like go back and watch in the third round. You'll see how like I pushed her up. Yeah. Because I said, okay, you want to go up, but we're going right back down. Like, let's go. But that's going to make you light on your feet. And I'm going to sweep that leg right back out then, you know? So that's a concept that I never had before. I was just so like scared to like take any chance. I've got to hang on to whatever I have. I can't let it go. And now I'm so confident in my skill set. I've always had a good skill set, but the confidence behind it. And I told myself I'm going to fight with my skill set this fight. I was like, I'm going to fight with my skill set. No more fighting with my head, my heart, I have those things in my back pocket. And that's lovely to know. Yes. That when push comes to shove, you can I got the fighter spirit.
Absolutely.
But it shouldn't be my first line of defense.
Exactly. That's your last line of defense.
That's my last resort. And it's been my first resort a lot of times because I've held on to things so long that I've gotten bad positions and I got out of position and I had to just kind of like, I was too nervous. I wasn't confident enough in myself to transition.
So you had that last fight. You came out flying colors. I want to ask a couple quick questions and then we'll let you go. All right. What's it like having a husband that is a professional fighter? Like, are there ever times that like, you're like, okay, honey, it's time to go. And then he's at the fight. I was like, what the you doing? I could have, you got to defend a takedown like this. Have there ever
100%. Oh, shit. Happens all the time. I mean, we do it to each other. I mean, he is the better wrestler than I am. You know, he has the fundamentals. He wrestled at Boise State. You know, so he's like foundationally a phenomenal wrestler. Like he's a great coach too. You know, really, I don't want to take anything. I know I've been talking about Kirk a lot, but can I please just shine a little light on my man?
Absolutely.
Because he is great. He's a great coach. He's so patient. We work so well together. And he really got me this last fight because I told him too, I was like, I don't like a busy corner.
Yeah.
I don't want to hear a lot. No. Like either you have faith in me or you don't. But please, you guys, do not try to be like puppet masters. Like, no, like let me be like, you know, like I've got it. Like if I'm really in a position where you see something, like give me a little piece of information, but like mostly chill the fuck out. Like, please. And it was nice because I actually heard her corner the majority of the time. So I knew exactly what they were telling her to try to do. And they were really like, I thought they were overwhelming her. But, you know, they were panicking. I could hear the panic in someone's voice. I assume it was probably your husband, you know, like they were even getting like frustrated with her at times. Like I heard them like, let go of that leg. Remember when she was turned away from me and she had my leg figure forward and they did not like that at all. And I was like, well, I could see why. I could see why they wouldn't like it. It wasn't a good position to be in. I think she was trying to set up, you know, the possibility of rolling under for a leg lock again. But I was well aware of it. I was too sprawled back. She wasn't going to get it. But anyways, they were right to tell her to let go of it and probably try to turn into me. I think that probably would have, you know,
give her a better outcome, get in a better position.
Yeah, just based on how I had everything. But anyways, what I was trying to say is they did a phenomenal job. And let me back up. So my man, though, you know, I mean, he still fights for one championship. And, you know, in his last camp, at one point, you know, he usually organizes everything for me. Like he's the very logical one. He schedules, he writes things down. He's very meticulous. I'm very like passion driven, fly by the seat of my pants. I don't schedule anything.
We should go rock climbing today. That's on the list. Who gives a f? Let's go rock climbing. It's a good chance.
Yeah, this is the kind of conversations that we have all the time. But yeah, I mean, I'll see him like doing a technique and or whatnot, and he's just got a different style than I do. So sometimes I'll jump in and be like, you know, that's like, you get a lot more leverage if you do it this way. And I think my jiu-jitsu, like personally, I think my jiu-jitsu game is better than his, and I think his wrestling game is better than mine, and we balance each other out that way. But sometimes with like positions and, you know, but he's cool about it. Like he doesn't,
I think I grappled him before. I can't remember. I think I grappled him at Extreme Couture upstairs. Yeah, he was pretty good when I grappled him. Granted, he was bigger, but I had a good time.
He's strong. He's got he's got those wrestling. You'll definitely know when you grapple with him that like he's a wrestling fundamental. Like he's very good with those, But I like the submissions and things like that. So that's But anyways, you were asking. Absolutely, it happens all the time.
Well, I always find it funny. I'm like, because I remember like when you retired and he was fighting and I was in Singapore talking to him and then he fought and then you're in the corner and then I think his last fight was against it wasn't against
it was
Gary
Tonin.
Yeah, Gary Tonin. I was okay, Gary Tonin is notorious for the heel hooks. Yeah. And I was okay, how's it gonna go? And it's been a while since he fought too, because I remember he was in Singapore. You guys were both of them in Singapore. And I know that feeling like he had like what, a 2-3 year layoff?
Yeah.
3-year layoff, goes out and fights one of the dangerous leg lock guys in the game. And it's like, I know he was like, all right, here we go.
For sure the best grappler in the division, maybe right now,
probably
his division.
Probably in the world, right?
Does MMA?
That does MMA, yeah. There's not a lot of guys. You have the Rotolo brothers, you have, Gordon Ryan, but those guys don't do mixed martial arts.
Yeah.
To where Gary Tonin's been doing MMA for a very long time. So his ground game has been very well transitioned very well into mixed martial arts. And I remember that fight, it was so... not chaotic, but like you can see Johnny wanted to get to the fight because he's been out for so long. So I always laugh when I'm like, all right, it's Johnny's turn. Oh, it's Miesha's turn. And I was like, of course Miesha wins the fight. Johnny's like, he looks at me, he goes, are you going to provide for this family? Or are you just going to let Miesha do it? What are you going to do? So I always wondering like what the dynamic was. What's next? So obviously, I know that sounds, I'm sorry I asked that question. That's one question I hate.
The one, I know. What's next?
What do you want to try to accomplish in the future? Obviously, you taking time off to get away from the identity of being that, Miesha Tate, Cupcake, or whatnot. Now, after you fight for another 2 to 3 more years, what are your things you want to try to accomplish?
Before I answer that, there were 2 things that we talked about through this that I feel like I still wanted to elaborate a little bit on. And hopefully we don't go over too much time. No, it's fine. But one thing I do want to say, because I know we've joked a little bit about this, and it's fine, because Johnny has a good sense of humor too. But I will tell you what, there is no way without like his just the way that he supports me. I'm sure like how you feel like with
100%
with your partner. It's like I could not do what I do, and I surely wouldn't do it as well. And he's the one that brought in Kirk White, who used to be his coach. And so like everything that you don't see behind the scenes, who really makes me who I am, and takes a supportive person. And especially when you see it the other way around, where the female in the relationship is the one that's like kind of going and doing these things, and then masculine. I don't think people understand what a strong man it takes to be that person.
Absolutely, he's basically living in your shadow.
Yeah,
right?
Essentially.
And I told my wife, Destiny, I said, I never want you, because when it's all done and said, right?
Yeah.
I don't want you to not have your own identity. I don't want your identity to be attached to, you're Demetrious Johnson's husband. That's what he's like, no, you take care of the kids. If it wasn't for you, I wouldn't be able to do what I can do to be
100%.
successful, right? So
yeah, he's like my personal assistant, my manager, my lover, he's like everything. Like he's the glue that just like makes this all work and go around. And so it's like, if I didn't have that, like there would be no, like I wouldn't have any of the stuff that I was doing right now. So like I look at whatever I do, we do.
Yeah.
Like when I win, we win.
Yeah,
like
it's
100% a team. Like so anyways, there's that. And then there was one other thing when you're talking about like the women and showing like strength and how women can be strong. And I want to point out that there are different variations of strength and how I kind of got to being a fighter. And I realized that for me, it was kind of a deficit of having a strong male figure in my life for periods of time in my life. So my dad, he worked on the road a lot and he just wasn't home a lot. And, my parents fought a lot when I was growing up, and I'm happy to say that they figured it out and they're still together, but it was tough. Like we didn't always know if they were going to stay together.
Yeah.
And my point in case is, I think when women have a lack of security with a strong male or father figure in their life.
Yep.
My dad and I really butted heads from like 13 to 16. We didn't even speak.
Yeah.
Like it was like.
Her dad's love it. I met him before. He's absolutely charming.
My dad's wonderful. I love my dad to death, and I'm glad that we figured it out. And this is not at all the point blame. But I want to say that when women don't have a strong, secure male figure in their life, a lot of times it makes women have to become that.
Yeah. Absolutely.
And so point in cases, I think that it is very important. So I want to give any men out there who are those people who have daughters or whatnot, is like, please, like, be that, because then the woman's strength can take over in the areas that are, I think, a little more conducive. And I'm not, this is a really weird topic, because some people are going to take it as like, oh, you know what, so you're saying women can't. No, obviously I am like doing that. I'm in a male dominated world, being strong in that. But I don't want to downplay the value that I see in strong women who are stay-at-home moms, who manage their kids, who have kindness and patience, and like, oh my Lord, that is such a challenging job. Absolutely. But when she can apply her strength in that area, we raise the generations of children who are healthy and have better like mental health outcomes and emotional stability, and like that is strength too. And that's beautiful, like to see that take place. But and I think when men and women, masculine and feminine, can have a great balance, I think you will see less of women having to step into the male role, which is something I realized was part of my evolution. As I stepped in thinking, I'm going to be there for my mom. I'm going to take care of my mom. I'm taking care of my younger siblings. I'm going to make sure that they're okay. Like, and if, you know, like I just developed a more masculine identity in everything that I did. And so I kind of just decided I felt more like I was safer being more like a male than I was. I didn't have the comfortability, I guess, and the security to step back into like my more feminine energy. Yes. Right. So I'm glad that I have found that now, where I found the balance between the two, and I can kind of shift between both. But I think there's power in being strongly feminine. Absolutely. When you can have that strong masculine behind you. And so I found that balance anyways, and I'm already who I am. So, most of this character development has already happened. I'm already a great fighter and I love what I do. But I think now I have the security of Johnny's masculine energy, whereas like he is a man's man, but he knows how to like man's man, which is so nice. Like, it's so nice. I just couldn't have it any other way because I'm too masculine. I have a masculine energy about me, and I can get it, I have both. But like, I'm not. It feels good sometimes to let that masculinity go back. And my wife's been telling me that, she goes, because she's a stay-at-home mom. I tell her all the time. I tell everybody all the time, the hardest job in the world, fighting is not. Being a stay-at-home mom is, because you're on the fucking clock 24/7, and you take care of 3 little ones and a grown-ass man at the same time. So sometimes my wife was like, man, I just wish you just take the reins. And I was like, when I do, and I say we're going to do this, you got to chime in and say something, right? So it's about having that balance, right? And interweaving it. And when you're saying like, you would be successful if it was for Johnny, like your training camps. He brings that. I don't need to be that anymore, which he brings security to me. Yeah. And then you're like, my wife always says, when you're in training camp, I'm in training camp because I'm cooking your foods. I'm booking your schedule. So absolutely. So when I win, she wins, right? Like when I say after my last fight, I was like, we did it, baby. She goes, yep, we did it. And I'm like, exactly. So now when they sit there and they're like, hey, when you want to fight, I'm like, it's not when I want to fight. It's when we want to fight. When we want to fight. Even though she's not in the cage fighting, she sees me go through all that stuff, and as Johnny sees you go through all that stuff. You kind of lose like a big part of the partner for a while, because so much of your focus and dedication has to be this. Not that you're totally gone, but a big portion of the freedom you'd have to just be dad at home or take over, when she needs a day off or she's sick or whatever, you can step in and fill in. That gets much harder when you've got to prioritize the training camp. Absolutely. And they have to pick up all the slack, if not more. So point in case is like, I feel like Johnny's brought that security to me with the masculine energy. And now I can focus on the balance in my life where I don't feel like I have to do that. And I just I want to be a fighter. That doesn't make me masculine or a man. It's serving a different purpose. Absolutely. I guess nobody sees that else differently on the outside because I'm still fighting and they just think just fighting. But my approach used to be so different in my mind and my heart of like why and how I had to do this. And now it's like, I don't have to. I've got balance in my life. I've got the synergy, and now I just get to. And that freedom, I think, was really expressed for the first time in this last fight of what I'm truly capable of when I'm no longer tying the identity. I've found the balance in these energies, and I've also been working with Mike, who's a mental coach, who has helped me be present, also knowing what I want. There's a balance in all these different things, so I'm picking and putting these puzzle pieces together, and Kirk White giving me the synergy because I lost Robert Follis. I know. I lost my head coach, so I've been struggling to find that right fit. And there are coaches that are great out there that I've worked with that I've really enjoyed, but they're either not always, they're in different states or whatever. You need that yin yang where it's like you can actually trust the coach, and then coach gets you. You guys have a good relationship
relationship where it's like, okay, Miesha, you understand what I'm saying, and I want you to give me feedback on how do you feel about that information I'm giving you, right?
Exactly. And I needed somebody personally, I think somebody who was either like a wrestling or grappling based coach too, like who really understood that. So anyways, I feel like I finally put all the pieces in the right place and I figured that out. And so I just want to give like men out there who are providing that masculine energy a shout out, and women out there who are not necessarily, you know, fighters in an octagon. Like, you are powerful.
Absolutely.
You are powerful. You don't have to be both. You can just be what you want, and you be powerful in your feminine energy, because it is it's needed. And I think more of it's needed in this world. I think, you know, kids with good moms and good dads is like, that's our future. So
absolutely. All right. Well, Miesha, how can the viewers find you? This is your time to use a platform. Tell us your social. Tell them what you got. And you got any more Cupcake tutorials going on?
Right. I know,
what's going on? This is your time. Let them know where they can find you.
No, I mean, I think Instagram is what my best platform personally. You just find it. It's MIE, I before E, except after C. Works for my name too. Miesha Tate. And that's pretty simple. We're working on, you know, I'm always a work in progress. I think you've been doing great. Maybe I'll pick your brain a little bit about the YouTube stuff, you know? Yeah. But I think I need to be a little bit more, but you know, there's balance in everything that we do. And sometimes I'm like, I'm just not going to be in front of a camera today. I'm just not going to do it. It ain't going to happen.
Well, you can pick and choose when you run your own thing. So that's
true.
Awesome.
Yeah. So, you know, maybe I'll do that, but I'm looking to venture more into the wellness world, to be honest. I'd love to host my own like conferences and things like that, and more motivational speaking. These are things that I'm doing currently that I'd like to kind of pick that up and continue moving, because I want people to understand there's a better quality of life out there. If you don't follow Gary Brecka or Andrew Huberman, these are two people that have changed my life. And also Dr. Mindy Pelt's Fast Like a Girl. Understanding to fast for female hormones is like a game changer. So women are just different. I've trained my whole career according to male model. Yeah. And I'm finally training according to female model. Yeah. And it's like, it's so much better. I'm like, I'm way better. Who would have thought? Biologically, I'm a female. Who would have thought it'd be better for me to train like a female? Right?
It's like, I'm on my period, so I can take the whole week off. So it's like, I'm on my period, I got to train. Men don't bleed. We're going to keep going.
Yeah, man. There's some real science and evidence between that. Like on the cycle, like we're good for training more like endurance. Like that's our endurance time. You know, we get testosterone once a month. You get it every 15 minutes.
Wow.
You want to talk about a big difference?
Yeah, it's a huge difference.
Huge difference. So why wouldn't I want to prioritize weightlifting and strength conditioning when I have testosterone present?
Yeah, I think, and I also think, I think you have a great story. I think you speak very well. You're very creative. And I think, like I said earlier in the podcast, that you have been a very strong movement for women. Like I said, when you've always been, you know, from your story, you've always been brought in to be slaughtered. You manifested you becoming a champion. You took time off from the career that was giving you an identity to find out your true identity, what makes you, you know, thrive in life, and then come back and be able to compete in a different mindset. I think that's very powerful, because I think a lot of women could benefit from hearing from your story, because a lot of women go through that, right? They're behind a man all the time, or they might be a big, you know, CEO company. They might be a CEO of a very big company, and they're like, I have no identity, I don't have a love life, et cetera, et cetera. So I think you have something there for a platform to be able to have a podcast, whatnot. So anytime you need help, I got you.
I appreciate that. Yeah. So we'll be working. There'll be some things. And then I want to get more in the wellness.
Yes.
You know, more into that. I mean, I'm really into it, but I want people to know there's a better quality of life out there. I look at life as a performance, you know, it's like, how well do you want to do it? How well do you want to live it? Like, I personally want to feel great until the day I go out. Yep. You know,
she's like 95.
Yep. Snuff me like a candle. Like I just want to burn bright until it's like goodbye, you know? And I think more people should understand that that's possible.
Yeah. Well, you have the knowledge, because later on before we jumped on the podcast, we were upstairs and it was me, Miesha, and my wife, Destiny, talking about the hyperbaric chamber. And she was just basically giving us the 411, you know, hyperbaric chamber 101, just talking all these big articulate words. And Destiny goes, did you get a degree in that? She goes, no, I took it in the courses. So I think you can absolutely kill it on educating people that you can live life better, not just skate through life, but kick life's ass. Enjoy living instead of
You should not be resigning to the fact that you have to live with pain the rest of your life. You shouldn't be resigning to the fact, like, you know, even you mentioned, you know, we were talking about testosterone and whatnot. Like the camera died and we had to restart. But I was like, you know, yes, testosterone does go down as you get older, but it doesn't actually have to be that way. There's still men in the 90s producing as much testosterone as in their 20s. But there's things that you can do, like even getting in the sauna regularly and stuff was up, like fasting that will up your testosterone, right? So
that's why I love the. I've never looked into fasting. Like I see everybody, I'm not doing 48
this makes two things that I do regularly that you're just like, I don't even know about.
Why I laugh when people are like, oh, I'm about to fast. I'm like, why don't you just eat? How about that?
Because you get stronger when you stop eating. That's why.
It's
like when you stop working out. Like, why don't you just stay in the gym 24/7 then?
Well, because your body's tired. You got to recover.
Right. Well, it's the same thing. Maybe your body's tired of digesting food and needs to recover.
Nah, because I wake up and I'm hungry as fuck. And I'm like, I need my
means that you're just on like a sugar burning system. So your body hasn't not producing ketones yet. When you produce ketones, then you start healing. Well, okay. Well, we'll get it. Where's the conversation for?
Yeah. On the next podcast, Miesha, thank you so much for. She's in town. Like I said, her parents still live in this area. I still live in this area. So thank you so much for coming over and giving me an exclusive interview for the MIGHTYcast. Truly appreciate it. Always been a big fan from the day I met you and even to now until the day we move on to the next stage of our life, which is death. But yeah, always been a fan. Thank you so much for coming over.
Thanks.
And ladies and gentlemen, thank you guys so much for watching this podcast. If you are new to our channel, make sure you like, subscribe. Also, hit the bell to know when we go live. We are out.